we're giving away 100 ounces of silver to celebrate silver hitting triple digits. Don't miss out on your chance to win. Visit silvertrade.com today to register.
Welcome to the SilverTrade Insider. I'm your host, Dr. John Lindau. Joining me today is the silver stock guru himself, Don Durrett of goldstockdata.com. Thanks for joining us today, Don. It's great to have you.
Yeah, John, first time. I follow you on X, and we're going to do this for the first time. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's get right into it. I want to start kind of with just your perspective on kind of the big picture in the metals. Gold and silver have had quite the run over the past year. Gold ripped all the way to 5,600. Silver, as our viewers are well aware, went up to 120. Silver's had about a 50% correction back to, I think 61 was the low a couple of weeks ago. Now we're trading around 75, 76 here midweek. So kind of wanted to start off with a bang. What's your macro outlook? I know a lot of experts in this space are claiming that the long-term secular peak is in. It's all downhill from here, but I really don't see it that way. So just wanted to start kind of with your total macro outlook on where we're at in the whole secular cycle for the precious metals.
Well, before I begin, I want to throw that back at you so I understand where you're coming from. When you say you don't hold that view, when we talk about macro, I usually think of it from the standpoint of the economy. Are you talking about macro about gold secular top, or are you talking about economy secular top?
I'm talking about gold and silver. I don't think
Okay.
gold and silver have ended their long-term secular bulls.
Okay, I just want to straighten that out.
That's a big difference between the economy.
Yeah, when you said macro, for me, macro is the economy, the overall economy. Macro is large, right? Micro is small. So I talk about fundamentals of gold and silver, right? Fundamental top, fundamental. We're nowhere even close to a top here in gold and silver. We just started. It just started. The gold breakout, you could say, started all the way back in 2019. Some people say it was 2016, but I think it was December 2019, January 2020 when gold basically started its bull market. And then it really, really ripped in February 24. And so in February 24, I mean, it was at $2,000 in February 24. It just went straight up since then. But silver and the miners, they didn't even join the party till a year and a half later. I mean, silver was under $35 a year and a half later. It didn't
It wasn't
join
until about
the
last
party.
August.
Exactly. It took a year and a half, August of last year. And the miners weren't going to do anything until silver joined the party. And so this bull market, it just started in August, in my opinion. And we've already had 3 corrections, which is kind of amazing. The bull has just been bucking. It's been, up and down since August. We basically made that big surge in August and September of last year. And then we've been up and down. And it's been really hard to stay on the train. And so the fundamentals picture for gold is extremely good here. The backdrop, the reason why I'm in gold and silver miners is because of the backdrop of the U.S. economy. And the more I got into this, because I look at history and I look at economics, and for me, it's an untenable situation.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, a lot of people, wonder why I have such strong conviction in the gold and silver mining space. And it's because the fundamentals for gold just keep getting better and better. It wasn't, I basically got into gold and silver before the central bankers got in, right? Now the central bankers are getting in and they're starting to see it. The last group to get in is basically your mainstream. And the mainstream, the people that are going to buy gold and silver, they don't even know they're going to buy gold and silver.
Yeah, and I contend that hasn't happened yet. That hasn't really started yet, the mainstream.
It hasn't. The sentiment is really weak in the miners, and that's the tell. The other tell is the mining stocks. If you look at the free cash flow multiples, I use free cash flow multiples instead of PEs, but they equate fairly closely. And so if you look at the free cash flow multiples of the strongest companies, I call them the Elite 8, those companies have an average of about 10. And for the entire sector, it's about 8. because the entire sector is the smaller producers. But the elite of the elite are at 10, which is extremely low. They're about half where they should be at because the sentiment is so weak. So the reason why it's weak is because people don't believe, and now I'm going to go over to the macro picture. People don't believe that the macro picture is basically as weak as it really is. There's some people that are espousing it, like Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is saying, look out here, we have a monetary flip coming. You need to get ready for this. This is a very serious situation. He's one of the few people, but it's all these guys that have been around for a long time, the older guys, right? The Jeremy Granthams, the Jim Rogers, these guys that are in their 80s, right? Warren
Jim
Buffett.
Sinclair's before he passed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm talking about the guys. Jim Sinclair's focused more on gold. I'm talking about the guys of the overall macro.
Okay, the macro guys.
Economy. They basically are nervous, very nervous, right? Jim Rogers says this is going to be the worst I've ever experienced in my lifetime, and he's absolutely right. Grantham is the same way. Buffett's the same way. The underlying foundation is really getting really unstable. And if you watch the cable business news, all they do is focus on earnings, GDP, unemployment. You know, they focus on a few numbers, but the other thing that they focus on is what they do for a living. I mean, most of these guys, that's what they do. They basically manage money. And if they're negative, they're going to lose customers, right? So they better stay positive. So most of these guys have a positive outlook on the economy, right? And so they don't really have this really holistic view. So the wider your net goes, the more you realize, OMG, right? It's like we got $2 trillion deficit that can't be fixed. We have a consumer that basically can't pay their bills. We have a housing market where people can't afford houses, right? And then we have
Bubble 2.0.
Yeah, we have automobiles that are becoming very, very expensive monthly rates. And inflation, it just keeps, today, I saw a guy today talking about inflation under control. Inflation today, the Iran war, today's April Fool's Day, right? That was him. He was basically doing the April Fool's, saying that inflation is under control. The consumer is strong.
Well, it seems to me like inflation is under control for things you don't need, like tech gadgets, things like that. Things you do need, like food, oil,
energy,
that's all through the roof. So we're seeing a dichotomy here.
Insurance,
right? Anything you need to survive, inflation's through the roof. Any like discretionary items, sure, inflation's contained.
Yeah. And you got to look at the whole picture, right? That's what I mean. Is the Wall Street, they look at the numbers they like, and I've been there, done that. When you work for somebody, you take on their values. And if you don't take on their values, you're going to suffer as an employee. And so that's the reason why these people they're taking on the values of these companies that they work for. But yeah, this war in Iran is going to cause some more inflation, and we don't know the extent. But we know right off the bat, we know that energy prices are going higher and food prices are going higher. So inflation didn't go away, right? So so you have that. Then you have employment. Last year, the employment really weakened, right? That's the employment picture is getting really ugly. Yesterday, Oracle laid off 18% of their workforce. 18%. Now,
it's a
5%.
huge number.
It's a huge number, exactly. 5% is bad. 10% is really ugly. Anything above 10% is just super ugly, right? They did 18%, 30,000 employees. Yeah, I always tweet probably nothing. Yeah. Sarcastically, right? This is becoming problematic. AI, right? AI is becoming a jobs killer. If without AI, they probably couldn't have laid off 18,000 people.
Probably,
right? So AI is a jobs killer to a large extent. The other thing AI is doing is it's kind of rug pulling the liquidity in the system, because these large companies are borrowing these massive amounts of money. Well, guess what happens when they say we want money? Well, they're the best people that are going to pay it back, right? Amazon's going to pay back their debt, right? Facebook, Meta, they'll pay it back. Amazon, Microsoft. So those are the best customers. So they're going to squeeze out other people, right? There's almost only so much money to go around. So you got them squeezing out the financial markets. Then you have the federal government. They need 10 trillion, 10, right? 2 trillion for the deficit and another 8 trillion to roll over debt where they have to pay off the principal. So you have these massive amount of money. This is all a net negative on the economy.
I thought the numbers were hard to fathom like a decade ago. And
yeah, and it's becoming, the real show here. And this is why I like gold and silver. But when I come on these shows, a lot of times I have to let people know that we can't get super excited about gold and silver and making money because our lifestyle is going to get rug pulled. We win, with gold going to the moon, but we also lose. It's kind of a catch-22 situation. I'm not really happy about it. I knew this is the outcome. So since I knew it was the outcome, I had to get involved in gold and silver miners. I'm waiting. And now it's just, we're getting closer and closer. I can see the top of the mountain now. Before 2020, I couldn't. Before 2020, you couldn't see the top of the mountain, but now we can. Now we can basically see, and it all started in February 24 when gold took off. That was the beginning of this last run, this last bull market. Some people are calling it the third and final gold bull market. So the 1970s, the 2000s, and this is the third and final one. I agree. I think it is the third and final one. Now you got to ask yourself, how in the world can it be the final one? Well, get ready because the impact is going to be really, really nasty. The world's not going to look the same after this bull market. And I think that's starting to become obvious.
Look the same.
it already doesn't look the same. And I agree with you. The bull market, when this last bull started in gold, I think the trigger for it was 2 Februaries prior to that in 2022, when the Russia-Ukraine war started and the U.S. made the brilliant strategic decision of sanctioning Russia's central bank reserves. What was it, like $300 billion that they just confiscated, which to me, the U.S. shot itself in the foot. What other global central bank wants to park their reserves in dollars?
You have no idea how spot on your analysis is. The war, the Ukraine war. So this all started, you can back up even further. You can go all the way back to 1989, 90, 91, 92, when the Soviet Union fell. So when the Soviet Union fell, and we actually were in negotiations with Gorbachev, and we basically said, look, if you basically lower that wall in Eastern Berlin, if you basically take the wall out, we will not expand NATO. We literally told him that, Gorbachev.
You did.
You dropped.
That didn't happen, did it?
We lied. We have flat out lied. And Clinton came in. Then Clinton came into office in '92 and immediately started expanding NATO. If you go back and you look at from '92 to '96, what Clinton did, we told him, look, you guys, and we made a deal with him. This was with Gorbachev, and when the Soviet Union fell. At that time, there were nuclear weapons in Ukraine. There was nuclear weapons there. We lied to them for two things. We basically said, look, you take the wall down in Eastern Berlin and you let those countries merge together, and basically you go bye-bye, you leave Eastern Europe. And you take those nukes out of Ukraine, take them home, get them out of, because those nukes are too close to Europe, right? Get those nukes out of Ukraine and bring them home, and we won't expand NATO. That was what we used. That was the deal, right? We will not expand NATO. We'll keep NATO in its current format. We flat out lied to them, right? And since that time, we basically it's one lie after another. But now, leading up to the war in Ukraine, so then we kept expanding NATO. If you go back and look at history from '92 all the way up, and then in 2014, we kicked out the Soviet Union's ally. So Ukraine was always
a coup.
It was a coup. They were always a very close ally of Russia. And as a matter of fact, they were such a close ally of Russia, Russia never even thought never thought that they wouldn't be, right? It was like Canada and the US kind of thing, right? But even closer, even more close, right? And so then they had a coup, the United States, the CIA, we basically kicked out Russia's ally and put in our own who was anti-Russian, right? And Gorbachev, at that point, we started saying we're going to put NATO into Ukraine. We're going to put NATO in the Ukraine. And Gorbachev was, I mean, not Gorbachev, Putin was very patient from 2014 to 2022, 8 years. He waited 8 years in negotiations, trying to get the US to mellow out. He's like, hey, guys, we're not going to let you put NATO in there. You need to calm down, cool your jets, or
and for
else.
those who don't understand, putting NATO right there would mean NATO's ballistic missiles 5 minutes from Moscow.
Yeah,
so that's what they were mainly concerned about. Putin wasn't going to allow NATO missiles, ballistic missiles.
Yeah, it was a
non-starter.
But it goes further than that. That's why you're spot on about your 2022. It goes further than that. The eastern third of Ukraine are Russians. They're Russian.
They speak
people.
Russian.
They're literally Russians.
They speak Russian, and Ukraine's trying to outlaw the speaking of Russian.
Yeah, they're Russians. Well, from 2014 to 2022, guess what happened? They started doing a civil war. They were literally killing Russians. There was a war going on. The Ukraine army was killing Russians in eastern Ukraine.
Ukrainian Russians.
Yeah, and Putin basically said, "Okay, that's it. You guys went too far." Now that was over an 8-year period, right? In 2022, he basically said, "I've had enough. I can't take any more of this," right? So then that war's been building since, like I said, 89, 90. Now once that war started, it gets deeper than that, but this is all economically based, right? Because the US without NATO has no voice in Europe anymore. The United States has influence is NATO, because we need a bad guy. Russia has to be our bad guy. So we kept pushing east with NATO, surrounding Russia, making sure Russia's the bad guy. Because if Russia isn't the bad guy, remember, Russia's the only reason NATO exists is Russia, the only one. So if Russia is no longer the enemy of Europe, so we had Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 was coming online. Those two natural gas lines were making Russia and Germany allies, close allies. That second line never came online. Isn't that interesting? It was very close to coming online in 22. Very close. I mean, we're like months away from coming online, and we blew it up. And so that whole thing is all about economics. It's always about money, if you really look between the lines. So when that war started in 22, it shifted everything. And so again, our bond market's a problem, right? Our debt's a problem, and we need to keep things kind of under control, if you will. You know, it's like the New York mob families, right? If they lose a little piece, they could lose the whole thing. You know, you got to keep your area, right? You can't let anybody steal any of it, right? So it becomes very strategic. And so the U.S., we were very strategic internationally, trying to maintain our foothold, our hegemony, global hegemony, right? But what you just said was in 22, when that war started, everything started shifting geopolitically, right? You had the BRICS expand. You had the Chinese and the Russians and the Indians all becoming allies of each other. They're natural enemies. All three of those countries are natural enemies, which is
right. And that shift has been happening over the last 2 decades. But I'm actually of the opinion that, like what you just said, natural enemies. I think China is using Russia, kind of like the Germans used Russia in World War II. I don't think China actually is a ally of Russia. They're just pretending to be. And one thing you pointed out a couple of minutes ago kind of clicked also when you were talking about it all started with Bill Clinton pushing east. Who was Bill Clinton working for?
Right, exactly.
He was with the Chinese. So,
right.
I don't know
or the neocons.
Right. But he was also selling nuclear secrets to the Chinese. But yeah, I think This isn't talked about
the
a lot,
deep
but
state, the swamp, yeah,
right. So you have the deep
all of
state
those.
and you have the New World Order on that side, and I think China is really the competing entity. China take over the world, and I think they're only out
Well, let me
only
well
out
let me right, let me yeah, let me
to
cut you off there.
go ahead.
So China and the U.S. have basically been economic competitors. Now, it's not so much controlling the world through, just military might, if you will. It's more controlling the world through
Asymmetrical
economics.
warfare. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all about money. It's all about economics. It's all about trade, right?
trade,
So,
port deals,
yeah.
the
Ports,
Belt Road.
control money, controlling economics. It's all about money, right? It always has been. Trump, I'm going to go take their oil, right? It's always about money. It's not about we don't spread democracy. We do not spread democracy. We spread war, right? We spread terror. We
We don't
spread
even have
economic.
democracy to spread. We have a republic.
Right. Well, yeah, a republic, but it's a quasi democracy. Democracy is the right to vote, basically. Um, you don't have a single party. It's,
Right. We
it's
don't have
either
a single party.
democracy. It's either authoritarian single party or democracy. Those are really the only two that you have. Um, Different forms of democracy, of course. Um, but the bottom line is it's all about money. It's all about who has more geopolitical influence over trade. Their corporations have the best deals or whatever. But it all changed in 22. But this has been building, right? China has been competing with the US head to head. Who's going to be the dominant player here? And and so now you're right. They basically are using Russia and India to get more leverage over the United States, and so they are strangleholding the U.S. They're literally strangleholding us, where they basically weaken our economy and we become stronger. And I think this has gotten to the point where the Pentagon and Trump are just gotten to the point where they're pissed off, and so that's why they went into
Right.
Venezuela to
And that's what it's
basically
all about. Sorry to interrupt you,
go
but just
ahead.
one point real quick. Love him or hate him, Trump is actually fighting back against China versus everybody else in recent history, both in
Right.
the U.S. as well as look at Canada,
Yeah.
look at Europe,
Obama. Obama.
Obama, Carney, Trudeau. Everybody's
Right.
just basically bought and sold by
Right.
China doing whatever they want. And Trump is finally actually fighting back. So
Yes.
um,
But
I
he's
think,
not saying it. The odd thing about it is he's not saying it. In
right.
fact, he's actually
People,
saying he's
people
actually
might
saying
understand it more if he said it, but he is.
he's actually saying the opposite, which is ironic as hell. He says that I have a good relationship with China. Instead of saying I'm at war with them,
Right.
he keeps saying over and over again, we have a good relationship with China. BS. It's the total opposite. We're at war with China, but
Do you
he
think
doesn't.
he's trying to pull one over on the U.S. public, or is he just trying to pull one over on
It's
China when he says that?
I guarantee you, when he gets into those meetings, it's all about how we fight China,
Right,
right?
exactly.
It's the exact opposite of what he's portraying in the public. It's ironic as hell. Our foreign policy has never been transparent. It has never ever been transparent since the Korean War forward. It's always been kind of the deep state's agenda, and the American people we're not in the club. We don't get to hear what the strategy is, right?
And sorry, folks, if you're just watching CNN and or even Fox News every night, you're not going to figure it out.
No, not at all. That's why we stopped. We stopped watching that stuff because we know it's all BS. Trump called CNN fake news. What turns out they're all fake news, right? We've learned that. We've learned that real quick.
There's different levels.
Yeah, but they're all fake news. You can't trust any of them anymore. They're all of them, 100% across the board. We have to figure that out on our own. But this actually ties back into gold. If society as a whole is breaking down, which I think it is, if you look at our media, if you look at our political system, even our social system, if that's all breaking down, that means the financial system is also breaking down.
Right. I mean,
So all these
we're becoming a house divided, and a house divided can't stand.
Exactly. And if you think the financial system is going to stand and with all these other things burning down, that's one of the metaphors I like to use is that Wall Street likes to say that everything's fine, but there's all these fires burning all around the city, right? And they're ignoring, they don't even see the fires. It's that meme where that guy's drinking the coffee and the fire's burning around. Everything's fine. They're ignoring the fires. There's fires all over the place. And I just keep, buy another stock, buy the dip and wait for the outcome. But like I said, gold's going to be the winner here. But the bad thing is that we're going to be the losers. And you need to figure out two things. You need to figure out kind of how the financial system is going to break down, how it's going to impact you, and then what's going to be the fallout from all of that. These are questions people don't want to ask. They just want to pretend that America is just going to continue on. That was our parents. Our parents had, the easy road, easy street, where they could just ride it to the top and retire. That's not going to be our road. We don't get easy street. Easy street's about to end. And I think 26, I've been saying this. I think the window is 25 to 27, and we got through 25. I don't know how. But now 26 is here, and the fires are getting closer. I guarantee you, by 27, the fires will have reached us.
Might be sooner than 27.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, and like you said, once what's coming happens, gold and silver can protect you, but we're not going to like the world where it becomes. But at least it does protect you from the fiat devaluation, the currency collapse. So
yeah, people have been saying this for years and years, and they were always right. It's like if gold goes to 10,000, you're not going to like the world you're in.
Right.
And that's exactly what's coming. You're not going to like it, but
I don't like the world we're in at $5,000 gold.
Exactly. Well, it depends. I mean, our lifestyle is pretty darn good. I mean, our standard of living, we're at the peak right now. We're literally at the peak. We'll look back and go, I want my life back.
Yeah.
Because the technology in our standard of living right now is at such a high level. And this is the reason why Wall Street is able to spin their narrative and keep the mainstream to believe them. Because our standard of living is so high. So since our standard of living is so high, we think it's just going to keep coming. It's going to keep going and going and going. We have nothing to worry about because we have a better lifestyle than our parents. And people think that if it's gotten this good,
it's not due to our manufacturing base being better. It's due to the petrodollar.
And it's due to a lot of factors, but it's irrelevant. What's relevant is the state of where we're at, current state, and where we're going. Point forward, right? That's what matters. Point forward is what matters. And like I said, everything's burning, but we're ignoring the fact that it's getting closer to us. It's kind of like, you watch some of those videos on X where there's an avalanche coming and everybody's ignoring it, right? It's like, oh, there's an avalanche, right? And they're ignoring it. It's getting closer and closer. Give me pass the toast, right?
And everybody makes fun of them for recording it instead of
yeah, exactly. That's kind of where we're at right now. And so pay attention. Good analogy. Pay attention to what's happening. The fire's burning, and pay attention, and it's just going to get worse. The fire's not going out. As a matter of fact, the fire department hasn't even shown up yet. We haven't. We're going to reach panic mode. It's the whole Hugh Henry thing. I recommend that you panic. And now, Henry, he was right about your crash is coming, right? I recommend you panic. But nobody's saying that today. There's no Hugh Henry out there. There isn't a Hugh Henry. Where's Hugh Henry at? Ray Dalio is kind of the new Hugh Henry, but Hugh Henry was serious, right? Ray Dalio sounds like a college professor. It's hard to believe him. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't get excited. Hugh Henry was a very emotional guy. So when Hugh Henry came on, I mean, the emotion just flew off the TV set, right? He was a character. But the one thing, I mean, you'd have like five economists sitting around a table, right? And they're all basically talking about everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. They go over to Hugh Henry and he's like, you guys all lost your mind? It was great. It was a breath of fresh air. And he got your attention, right? But there's nobody today that's saying it. Peter Schiff, but I don't know. He doesn't. He's not on all the shows too much. But we don't have a hedge fund manager right now that's like scared like Hugh Henry was. We don't. We need somebody like that to get people's attention. I mean, I try to get people's attention, but I'm not a mainstreamer. As a matter of fact, I will not do mainstream TV. CNBC or Fox News asked me to come on and talk about gold mine stocks. I'm not going on. I'll say, sorry, go find somebody else for your fake news channel, right? I'm not doing fake news. I'm not going to be a fake news guy, right? So I don't think there's going to be a Hugh Henry this time around. You better figure it out, but the clock's ticking.
Yeah, it certainly is. I know you've forecast gold could hit $7,000, I think, within 24 to 36 months? Is that what you've thought? Has that changed at all with what's going on in Iran?
Only sped it up, right? The Iran war created more uncertainty. So I before the war started, my feeling was $7,000, 24 to 36 months is a fait accompli. You're not going to be able to stop it. That was my base case. And I think we're going beyond 7. I really do. But I think for me right now, it's basically 7,000, 24 to 36 months. And I don't think you're going to stop it. And now this war just create more uncertainty. So it could speed it up. And so we're going to see what happens here as this. Like, we talk a little bit about the war. One thing before I go to the war, I want to talk a little bit about silver. So for me, the story is always about gold. Gold has to lead. Silver just comes along for the ride. I always call gold the masculine energy. Gold is basically ruled by the sun, and so it's basically your stable. The sun always shines kind of thing. Gold is a very stable thing we can depend on. We can understand it. Silver is ruled by the moon, and that's the feminine energy. And we have no idea, what silver is going to do. It's very volatile. You just
Much
don't
more volatile,
right? But so silver, what I do is for my silver targets, I use a range, right? Gold goes to 7. I like to use Michael Oliver's percentages. If you've used 1% of 7,000 at $70, and I think that's very low. We're not going to do that. Use 2%, it's 140. Use 3%, it's 210. So I think it'll be somewhere between 140 and 210. I think that's a good area. 180, 175, I think is a good target for silver. Now I wanted, gosh, was it another topic I had to talk about? The Iran war. So the Iran war, I think we really need to talk about this. The last 2 days, the stock market is actually just ripped, absolutely ripped. I mean, up 3% or something, but it's only a 6,600, but it was all the way down to 6,350. So it was down quite a bit, but the last 2 days, I mean, really strong. Tuesday and Wednesday, last day of the quarter, the 31st, and the day of the 1st. And the reason why
all on tweet that,
yeah, well, it was a tweet by Trump, but then you also had interest rates. I think Powell had an impact where Powell basically became a dove. Powell said, we're going to have to lower rates, not raise rates. He gave a speech at Harvard and said, the next move is down. And that combination of Powell and rates were down after Powell said it, and then rates came down a little bit more because there was a little bit of fear that they might raise rates because of inflation. But I always knew. So the combination of that plus, but the one thing I want to point out here about the Iran war is that I don't know if this is the end of it. Everybody seems to think that Trump is going to walk away in the next 2 weeks and the strait's going to open and everything's going to be back to kumbaya kind of thing. But if you look at the 6 points that Iran came out, if you look at those 6 points, you can go to any of your search engine or any AI prompt and ask, what are the 6 points that the Iranians said that they require to end this war?
Trump wouldn't agree to any of them.
All 6 of them are pie in the sky fantasy.
Right.
They're like, there's no way in hell Trump will agree to any of those 6. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. This doesn't make a lot of sense here. The media thinks the war is ending, and Iran's saying these are our 6 points. And they can't even get 1 out of 6. So are the Iranians lying? Are the Iranians basically saying, those 6 points, we don't care about those? Or just give us 1 of those 6. Okay, here's our 6, here's our wish list. Just give us 1 of those 6, right? Now, I talked to somebody yesterday and he said, okay, the one thing on that wish list that they're going to get, and maybe two of them, one of them is they're going to get the ability to basically control the strait. So they basically ability to do the toll road. They do the toll and they get paid. And the U.S. allows them to do that. Now I mean, that would be something they might, you're going to give us the toll road. Okay, we'll take it. Because if you think about that over the next 20 years, that's worth a lot of money. If they can do 1% per ship, but the other thing that gives them, which gets kind of crazy, is it literally gives them the ability to set the oil price because they can throttle back. They can basically, okay, Saudi Arabia, we're only going to let you do 3 ships today. That's it. And tomorrow only 2, right? So if they can control the flow through the strait, so if the U.S. goes, okay, we'll let you control the state, then that could end the war. That's one. The other one that could possibly end the war, and this would be kind of an under the table one, is money, right? We pay them off. But those are really the only 2 that I can think of. They could end this war, or they could just fold and basically get nothing. But that's the one thing that I can't wrap my head around. Would Iran really agree to basically back down, open the strait, and get nothing out of it? That doesn't make any sense to me. So this is still a very unstable situation here, because does Iran get nothing or do they get something? And if they get something, what do they get? So
especially considering we have a couple semi-moderate political leaders who reports, I mean, depending on the report, but whether you take it with a grain of salt or not, the IRGC is actually running the show, and the more moderate political leaders that Trump says he's negotiating with don't actually have any power anyways.
It's a good point. Creates more uncertainty here. But my point is this, is that gold's at 75, 76, silver's at 75, 76, gold's at like 4,700, and it's been ripping higher. And I feel sorry. That's not the right word. I have a little bit of concern about people that are buying this dip, right? Because I have a feeling we could go all the way back down to 4,000. And so you could get rug pulled pretty hard here, possibly. So I wanted to buy this dip before this recent, run. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a little patient here. Because I think there's a very good chance we could have another correction in April. I don't think it's clear sailing yet. So
it's been interesting how the metals have been trading. I did an interview with David Morgan. I think it was about mid-February, and we were talking about the potential for the war. And he thought both metals would ramp. And at the time, I thought gold was going to go limit up if the Iran war started, but I thought silver would be hit pretty hard due to its industrial side. It turns out only half of that was right. Both metals have been hit, which is honestly, I think, counterintuitive, at least as far as gold. I think this initial move is completely
historically
wrong.
Historically, that is what has always happened. It's ironic as heck, but whenever there's a crisis, gold prices go down every single time. And every time there's
and then they recover and rally out of it.
Yeah, and every time there's a stock market crash or deep correction, gold and silver go down. And that's always been my expectation. So one of the things I do, a lot of times people call me the most bearish bull, because I'm always looking at the floor. I'm always talking about the floor. I'm always talking about the next correction. And the reason why I'm always talking about it is because that's where you want to buy. You want to buy floors, you want to buy dips. So focus on it.
It helps prevent you from chasing into a parabolic peak too.
Oh yeah, you don't want to buy tops, you want to buy bottoms. And so like right now, I mean, we were like 4,700. I'm like, that's kind of low, but I still think we could go all the way back to 4,000 here. And so I think the floor is easily 4,000 easily, and it could be lower than that. And so, gold is at 5,600 here. So until gold gets all the way back above, over 5,000 and stays there for a month, until that happens, we're in a correction.
How about silver? Silver's right at its right at a critical juncture, right at the downtrend line.
Again, it's not about silver. Keep your eye on gold. Okay. Silver's going to follow gold. Don't see, that's the one thing. anybody that's just doing a technical analysis only on silver and only silver and ignoring gold, if they get lucky and their silver charts manifest because, it's because the gold chart also manifested. Gold, silver, I've been saying this for years and I've been right. Silver does not lead. Gold leads. I mean, 2019, 2022, silver is way late to the party. August. That's exactly what I said was going to happen. Silver's going to follow. And so keep your eye on the fundamentals of gold. Keep your eye on gold. Silver will follow. Yeah, silver's ripping. Well, guess what else is ripping? Gold. And so, yeah, it's always about gold. It's all about the fundamentals of gold. So if silver's going to go to 100, 150, 200, gold's going to go a lot higher. The good news is gold is going a lot higher. That's the good news. And silver becomes a monetary metal. At a certain point, it becomes a monetary metal. And when that happens, it outperforms gold. But you got to have gold as the leader. And so just keep your eye on gold, keep your eye on the fundamentals of gold. Silver will come along for the ride. But if gold gets beat up, and I think it could here in April, if it goes back down to 4,200, 4,000, silver is going to sub 60. So, we're at 70 right now. So always be aware of the next rug pull. It's always coming. It's always coming. And so you got to be ready for it and aware of it. And I always say, you don't buy tops, you buy bottoms. I think that's all the time we have for today.
Yeah, I agree. And investors know that, but you really have to have a plan in place, because otherwise, if you let your emotions take over, you do the exact opposite.
Exactly. So it's definitely a skill you have to learn. But they always say you make your money when you buy.
Exactly.
And so buy bottoms, don't buy tops, people.
Personally, I've almost come to view it as when my emotions tell me to do something, just do the opposite.
Right.
But I feel like, oh man, I got to sell it, buy some more.
I know.
Even if it's just a little bit, like
people love to buy momentum. They love to buy rips, but that's not how gold and silver work. Gold and silver, very volatile animals. We've seen it since October. You've had 3 corrections. I mean, anybody's learned this really quick. We've had 3 corrections since October. That tells you there's always another correction coming.
Right? And you see it for the sentiment going from, like, when silver was at 60, low 60s a week or two ago, oh, silver's going back to 30. A day later, silver's up to like 68 to 70 and everybody's ready for new highs again. Like the sentiment just flips like,
right. So I definitely bought that. When gold went to 4,100 and silver went to 61, I bought that dip. That's when you buy. And you buy those deep dips. And now we're back to 50, 46, 4,700. So now I'm on the sidelines thinking, okay, what am I going to do here? And so I'm probably going to be patient here in April, wait for the next correction. I mean, we could go all the way to 5,000 and then correct all the way back to 4.
Right.
It just depends what happens in Iran here in April. But April's a volatile month. I'm much more bullish in May and June. But April, expect volatility in April. I am.
Okay. Well, before we close, Don, can you tell the viewers a little bit more about goldstockdata.com and everything you offer the subscribers to your great service?
Yeah. So if you own any gold and silver mining stocks, then my website is for you. It's a great tool to find additional stocks, and you can use it to analyze what I say about your stocks. If you don't own any, then read my book. And then after you read my book, then you can decide if you want to get involved. So my book's on Amazon. Just go Amazon, Don Durrett, and look and put in gold, and you'll find it. It's got a black cover. Thanks for having me on, John. I enjoyed it.
All right. It's great to have you. Look forward to having you back sometime soon. So for John Lindau and Don Durrett, thanks for tuning in to the Silver Trade Insider.